This summer, there are a lot of Korean movies coming out. It would be nice to see all the movies that come out this summer, but it's hard if you don't, because you want to save your money and watch just one. If you're having that problem, I'd recommend this movie, The Moon. It's a sci-fi movie, as the title suggests. It's never about how well the technology, VFX, etc. are going to be implemented. That's already a basic premise. What matters is the story. And if that fails, you're going to say, "Oh, it's gorgeous, it's amazing," and there's not going to be any talk about the content of the movie. No movie like that has ever been successful at the box office. Avatar was #1 at the box office worldwide, and it wasn't because of the spectacle. The spectacle only supports the content. No one would watch a movie if the content wasn't interesting and engaging. In Korean cinema, the sci-fi field has been untouchable. When I saw Star Wars for the first time, I was so excited, and I wondered how they did the lightsaber. Later, I realized that the lightsaber was animated. When you look at it that way, there's not much to it. If you have an idea and you implement it well, that's the technology. But the technology in Korean movies has improved tremendously. Korea already has great skills in animation. A lot of Japanese animations are made in Korea. Along with computer graphics, Korea has gradually developed the technology to implement it, and now foreign countries are also requesting it. Dexter is one of the leading VFX companies in Korea. It was created by Kim Yong-hwa, the director of The Moon. At first, we were told that it was awkward. But from With God, we could see that it was natural, and the movie was successful at the box office because the audience watched it so much. It was unfortunate that we tried to go too far with the emotional code, but even knowing that, I watched it while crying, so it was successful. This time, The Moon is also unfortunate in that regard. I think we should have included the emotional code, but I watched it while crying. I think it would have been hard to take that part out of the whole movie. It's hard to say what I would have done differently, but it's actually quite simple if you look at the content. It's about South Korea sending a man to the moon, second only to the United States, and what happens when they have a mission there and have trouble getting back. Until now, there have been very few movies about space in Korea. Imagination is something you do when you can, and it's hard to make a movie about imagination when you can't. Korea hasn't sent a spacecraft into space yet, so we didn't think about making a movie about space. Hollywood has already sent people to the moon, so there are a lot of movies about that. Korea now has the technology to put satellites in space. People's imagination can now think that it can be done in space. When guns first appeared in Korean movies, they were criticized for being too far removed from reality. Not only are guns illegal in Korea, but they're not even in the news, so when they did appear in a movie, people said it was awkward and weird. Now that we've gone through that period, guns are commonplace in Korea, and they're done very well. The most recent space movie was Saeangriho, and the VFX weren't awkward at all, but a lot of people said the story was a bit lackluster. So I was curious to see what The Moon would do in that regard. A movie similar to The Moon is Sandra Bullock's Gravity, which was praised for its realistic depiction and great content. I don't know about the content, but I think it's at least as good in terms of VFX. Especially since Korea has never put a spacecraft in space before, it would have been difficult to research and implement the technology. And when I saw the subtitles at the end of the movie, I saw that they had the cooperation of NASA. I didn't feel awkward at all about the various situations that take place in the weightlessness of space. There's nothing hopeful about any of the developments in the movie. It's just one misfortune after another, and things just go from bad to worse. Do Kyung-soo, who plays Sun-woo, is all alone in space. He's an astronaut going to the moon, so he's irreplaceable, so Do Kyung-soo's acting has to be good. Since there are no other actors, I wonder if he was acting on a set that was almost built by himself. There has to be some kind of give and take to make it better. In that situation, Do Kyung-soo gave a very tense and suspenseful performance. On Earth, His role is to control the control center. There's Sol Kyung-gu as Jae-guk, who is the former head of the center. There's Kim Hee-ae as Moon Young, who works as a deputy director at NASA. Unexpectedly, there's Lee Sung-min, and he's a special appearance alongside Kim Hee-ae. A pretty impressive character as Hong Sung-hee. She works with Jae-guk in Sobeksan, and she looks a lot like IU, so I thought she was a newcomer, but when I looked her up, I realized she was in a movie I'd seen. About an hour of the movie is about Worry leaving the Earth and getting to the Moon, and the other hour is about coming back to Earth from the Moon. This is where meteors become incredibly terrifying. Even on Earth, a tiny little rock has a huge explosive power when it hits the atmosphere, and the same thing on the Moon. A tiny little meteor hits, and the ripple effect is crazy, and that's where the challenge comes in. Towards the end, it becomes a bit of a weird world, with the collaboration between the US and South Korea. The ratings aren't great right now, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.